and welcome. We're here in a beautiful facility here at Evernote for the very first time, and we'll acknowledge that in a minute. Just a few housekeeping things before we get started. I think most of you have seen that there is Wi-Fi access and seen the user ID and password, so feel free to sign up for that. As you can see, the food and beverage is permitted, and feel free to help yourself during the course of the meeting. The room is ours until noon today, so let's be respectful of that, and let's also clean up before we leave the room. Restrooms are in the back and to the right over there, so over by the yellow door. And finally, as we mentioned earlier, please be sure that you sign in on the attendance sheet and make sure that your email address is correct, because in order to opt in our forthcoming membership system, we'll need to have a correct email address for you. So this is our June meeting. For those of you who are new, we meet once a month, and basically we give everyone a chance to introduce themselves who are the new members. So who do we have that's here for the first time today? Let's see a show of hands. Wow, very good. So if you'd like to stand up and just do 5 or 10 seconds about who you are and why you're here, that would be great. And then we'll jump right into our first speaker.
Okay, my name is Mo, and it's the first time here. I have a Nissan Leaf 2011. I bought in June 2011, early owner, but I could not find a owner move, so this is the first time here. Actually, it's my sister got an email from her friend George. I don't know who is George, and forward email, and I got it last night. So I'm happy to find some same group people there, right? Hi, yes.
Okay, great, thank you. Who else?
We get this, here's a speaker.
Oh, yeah, there's...
I'm Robert Marr, and I have a 2012 Leaf. I'd just like to get information from all the other members about information about the Leaf and going solar. So I just wanted to get some share.
We can tell you about that.
Very good. Do you want to pass the mic around? Does that work? So we have a pillow that's a microphone, so you can toss it around and talk right into it.
My name is Sri Ram, and I recently won the BMW Hackathon for an app called Charge Now that helps people communicate with EV drivers, so you don't have the problem of those charging stations having cars stuck in them that are fully charged.
Thanks.
My name is Mark Carroll, and I'm owner from August of 2011. And this is the first time to join. I wanted to join this meeting, but we normally play tennis on Saturday morning. But fortunately or unfortunately, I have a tennis elbow. So that's why I could join this meeting a little while. And I need to leave at 11 o'clock because I have another commitment, but I really enjoy this meeting. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mike Kirsch, and I'm less than 2 weeks owner. I attended the dedication at the Santa Clara Library, talked to somebody for 5 or 10 minutes, and I was sold. My other car is a Prius plug-in, so I'm just interested in never having to go to a gas station again.
I'm David Villarga. I've had my Leaf for about 14 months now. And this is my first meeting because I live in Redwood City. It was just too easy. And I came to, this will be short because I came to hear the speakers.
Anyone else?
Hi, my name is Brent Altman, and actually I'm a non-Leaf owner. I do own a Prius, but I'm just here as, I guess, an observer to absorb information. I'm doing academic type research on vehicle-to-grid. And vehicle to home, vehicle to business, that sort of technology. So, glad to be here. Thanks.
You got one more person to go?
Hi, my name is John Christian, and I'm an EV-holic. I actually still am employed by Coda Automotive, a competitor to Nissan, in Los Angeles, which is in bankruptcy court this week. So a little bit of sad note, but I'm so glad to see things just continuing on, and I plan to continue to be an EV holic.
Anyone else? Okay, good. You can toss it.
So my name is Mark Michael. I'm a non-Leaf owner, but I've had a test drive which blew me away. And after I leave here, I'm going to the gas station to fill up my BMW, but hopefully that will change in the near future.
Excellent, excellent. Anyone else? One more?
I'm Brennan, and I actually heard about this through Facebook. I have a Volt, so I'm just kind of visiting. But
all right. Good. So once again, as the membership list comes around, if you're interested in joining the group, there's no dues or anything. Just showing up and giving us an email list gets you in, so, or an address. So, and then before we get started with speakers, we also just want to say that we've got so again, we should thank our hosts for today, which is Evernote Corporation. So very good. So still having a few technical glitches, but we're getting there. So anyway, we do have a special guest today who's going to be giving us an address a little bit later on. It's the former chief designer of the Leaf, Masato Inoue from Nissan in Japan. So Inoue-san has a short presentation about driving the Leaf in Japan, which we'll get to a little bit later in the program. But he's actually, I should also say now, he's the chief designer of all Nissan future EVs. So very much interested to see what people in the Bay Area have done to their cars. Okay, so to get ideas as well, and then he also, obviously, you can see the enthusiasm that people have for, but he's also interested in hearing about personal stories with the car. So he'll be around. He's free the entire day, so there'll be plenty of time to have discussion with him. Yes.
I'm really happy to meet you guys today, and for a long time I've been engaging with EV, and so I have probably too many stories I want to talk about today, but I really feel something like I'm in a home here, because you guys have as a friend, you guys have my son, so I'm very happy to be here, and I'm really looking forward to talking about this today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Inoue. We're very much looking forward to your presentation. So, okay, quickly we're actually about a third of the way through the agenda already. So, what we have here today is very full. I would just ask that we have many speakers, that you give the speakers the courtesy of getting through their materials today. I know we like to interrupt and ask a lot of questions, but anyway, as you can see, a full program, and we're only here until noon, so let's try and make our way through it. Stephen Latour, who's our host for today, will be giving a presentation after we hear from today's featured speaker, which is Robert Llewellyn. He's a well-known journalist, and he'll be on in just a second. We have Inoue's presentation, and if we have time, we'll have Kim will be up to talk about some of the things that we've done to our cars here in the Bay Area. And then, if time permitting, we'll have some announcements, and then we can continue with the discussions outside. So, okay, I'd like to bring up Jeff Orr, who's going to introduce our featured speaker today, Robert Llewellyn.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Jeff Orr. I work with George and others at Yahoo, and fellow EV driver and enthusiast. Our speaker today is from the UK. Amongst his many accomplishments, he's played a robot on a mining ship in the future. He's co-hosted a TV show where but two teams have to compete to build the weirdest vehicle they can in a time limit from spare parts they find at a junkyard. But what we're going to show you before Robert goes on is a clip from his electric vehicle and alternate energy video show called Fully Charged. This particular episode highlighting the Nissan vehicle-to-home power system that was being prototyped in Japan at the time, and also how it can be used to make a quite tasty, familiar alcoholic drink.
So, you have invested in an electric car and there is a power cut. Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Let's go, let's go.
Now, Gareth, one of the things I heard today from the people who work at the Bruichladdich distillery was that they had quite a severe power cut over the winter and they didn't have electricity for a while. And then I thought, oh, electric cars, electricity, all problem. But then I see this. Now, to the uninitiated, this might look like that we're charging the car here.
Absolutely. It's kind of a charger in reverse, if you like. Right. It's a prototype system from Japan. So it was set up very much for the Japanese market. Obviously, they've had recently a big need for sort of remote power supply after the tsunami. So what we've got here is a unit which takes the power from the battery. We've got the 400 volts direct current from the battery, which needs to be converted into alternating current. So that converts it into 160 volts AC. Right. And that is then transferred to this unit over here, where we have outlets and we have a transformer to put it into a European voltage. The batteries in the Leaf will run the average house for around 2 days. So you've got an awful lot of power in there. So if you need to use power remotely or when the grid is not available, then this provides a very useful extra.
I hadn't thought of that. So because I've got solar panels, I mean, I could effectively, if I didn't need the car, I could charge it in the daytime when it's sunny, and then at night I could watch the telly.
I mean, that would be a development step on from this, but that's something we would look at because obviously a lot of customers are looking at ways of powering their houses and their lifestyles more sustainably, and a Leaf can be part of that. Right.
And I believe we've set up a little demonstration.
We have just something. We have set up to have a hot whiskey toddy with some Bruichladdich whiskey, so we can experience that.
Start doing some mixing. In here, then, is hot water heated by an electric car battery?
Absolutely. So that's the Leaf power supply system has heated up this water. We're not really stretching it with doing this. This is just a sort of fairly low ampage device, but we've got some hot water in there, and we're going to attempt to make a hot whiskey toddy with Bruichladdich finest. It's a Leaf special edition bottle as well, so they've done a special one for us. But little splash of the...
So we've got cloves in the glasses already?
Already got cloves in there.
Oh my God, little splash. That's like half a gallon. So then a bit of honey.
Bit of honey.
So I'll do a lemon in this one.
Yeah, you do a bit of lemon there.
Do you like a bit of lemon in there?
And that will be warmed up nicely by the hot water. Right. So
let's just have a sniff of that. Ooh. Oh, it does smell nice, actually.
It does smell good, doesn't it?
Do you think we've got to, haven't we?
certainly warms you up from both perspectives, doesn't it?
That's working.
I don't think I'll be attempting to drive after this.
No, I don't think I will. No, I think we should just let the battery go flat. Absolutely. Leave it at that. So we've had a fantastic time in Scotland. We've seen wind turbines, we've seen marine turbines, we've seen little creatures that fart and produce electricity when they make this. It's been absolutely amazing. Come and visit when you get the chance. Slancher. Was that right?
Yeah.
Good. Slancher. Can't remember anything now after I've had some of this. It's lovely. It's not cold tea, let me tell you that.
Join us next week when we'll see a house of the future and find out just how many of the gadgets that make it work are here now.
Flip the switch.
Yeah, power. Oh, turn it back down. So yeah, power helps. So yeah, that was a episode of Fully Charged, which you can find.
Welcome to GoToMeeting, online meetings made easy.
I hear that all the time at work.
There are 2 other callers on the call.
So thank you everyone who joined via WebEx. I hope you enjoyed that episode as much as we did. You can find more episodes of Fully Charged on Robert's YouTube channel, which is Fully Charged Show. and we can give out the links via WebEx and here at the meeting as well. So, without further ado, Howard, is everything switched over? Oh, there he is. Without further ado, Mr. Robert Llewellyn, live from the UK.
Good, great. I mean, can everybody hear me now? There.
Yes.
Oh, yes. I can tell. I have to say that although I spend a lot of time giving talks to various groups around the UK, this is one of the most bizarre experiences of my life. Because I'm sitting in a tiny office in a tiny cottage in Gloucestershire, which for those of you who don't know the United Kingdom, you might have heard of Stratford-on-Avon, where a man called William Shakespeare was born a few hundred years ago. I'm about 20 miles from there, in the middle of nowhere. There's very little housing or anything around me. But I know where you are, because I've been very near to where you are, and I can see that you've got sunshine and it's beautiful Californian weather, and I'm so jealous, and it's wonderful. Anyway, I'll get quickly to the point. The little episode you saw there, I just want to quickly explain something about that, because the distillery we filmed that at is an extraordinary place. It's on an island called Islay in the Inner Hebrides in Scotland, and the company that produces the whiskey there, which believe me is beautiful whiskey, they produce so much waste from the production of the now I can see myself. Now I know what you're looking at. I'll try and be more animated. So the waste that they produce from the whiskey production, they use to generate electricity, and they generate so much electricity, more than the plant uses, that the owner bought a Nissan Leaf because it was so much cheaper to run a Nissan Leaf on the island, where they have to import diesel or petrol in barrels and carry it over in ships. That everyone else on the island is now looking at him in his electric car that costs him literally nothing to fuel, because he's already making the electricity. And so that's why we went up there to see what they were up to. It was an extraordinary place, and they are this year installing the largest tidal turbine. I shouldn't call it one turbine, it's actually 14 massive turbines in the sea that between Islay and the next island next to it, which is called Dwarf, has very strong tides, and it will generate. It's in the gigawatt capacity. It's a really huge installation. So we're going to film that later this year. Anyway, so I'm very proudly wearing a T-shirt. I thought it was appropriate to wear that today. I took possession of a Nissan Leaf in May 2011 when they first came out in the UK. I was because I'm doing a lot of programs about electric cars. I was loaned one, which was fantastic. It was so fantastic that I bought it. So I've now had it for just over 2 years. I've driven 28,000 miles on the car. At the same time that I had the Nissan Leaf delivered, we also had solar panels installed. You've got to remember, I live in the United Kingdom. The general weather is lousy, cloudy, cold, grey, dull, depressing, which is why English people are also miserable. But in that time, I actually checked the figures before I started. So in the time since I've had the car and the panels, the car has used 8,341 kilowatt hours. That's how much I've put into it. But the panels have produced 5,703 kilowatt hours. So I have 14 panels, a 2.4 kilowatt array, and it's produced just over 5,500 kilowatt hours in that time. There's large periods of time, today being a very good example, where it is almost like California. We actually had sunshine today, and generally I will always charge my car at night, but today I did plug it in during the day, just because it's free, basically. It doesn't cost anything when it's sunny. And in the first year I had the car, I was used as a guinea pig. I have a large array of meters on the wall of my garage, which were put in by a very highly skilled team of electrical engineers. And after the first year, they came and assessed my use of the car and how many miles we'd driven, how much electricity I'd used, all those sort of things. And they told me I'd driven 4,300 miles on solar in the first year. So the first year I did about 15,000 miles in the car. And so I've done 4,000 of those just purely on solar power, which was I think the most crucially important thing, and it's an argument I use a great deal here, in that the kind of drive that I have, my interest in this technology and in emerging renewable energy technologies is aiming, the human race aiming, we'll never quite get there, but if we aim towards doing the things we do without burning anything, the less we burn, the better off we are. That's really the main thing. And I drove 4,300 miles an hour. Heavy, complicated piece of machinery made in a factory, shipped around the world in a ship. All those arguments, they're all valid, they're all real. It's not a pair of handmade sandals, it's a car, it's made in a factory, but I managed to drive 4,300 miles without burning anything. And that's never been done before. We really are at a turning point in our culture and our technology where that is possible. And those sort of arguments are the really complicated ones to get across to people who've never driven in an electric car. Normally I give talks to audiences of mixed public audiences, most of whom have never even seen an electric car, let alone been in one. So I've never actually given a talk to a group of people who, if they don't actually own an electric car, they've seen them and been in them. My first contact with electric vehicles was all in California when we were filming Junkyard Wars there. And I met a lot of people who were involved in the early development of the Tesla Roadster and all that kind of stuff in it. California absolutely leads the world in this field. It is an extraordinary place for someone like me to visit. And hopefully I'm coming there in September, October this year to film with Toyota with the RAV-E4 and go to the Tesla factory and all that stuff. That said, the other thing I really think is worth mentioning, because that's one thing I have kept a very close eye on, is how much that electricity that I've had to pay for, that comes from the UK National Grid, how much I've spent. And it's about £450. That's about as close as I can get. So I've driven 28,073 miles as of today for £450. One of the reasons it's that low is because we have mixed tariffs in the UK. So if from midnight to 7 in the morning, there is a very cheap tariff. I actually pay slightly more during the day than the average, but I pay 1.1 pence a kilowatt hour at night. So that would be the equivalent of about, I guess, 3 cents, 5 cents a kilowatt hour. So it's very, very low. And one of the programs you might want to watch on Fully Charged is where I talk to the head engineer of the National Grid in the UK, who was extremely keen on electric vehicles. They're very, very keen for people to adopt them because it would help them. But one of the key things he told me, which is another very good argument to have in your armory when it comes to arguing about these things, is that during the off-peak hours in the UK, about 85% of our electricity is from nuclear and wind. All the big coal burning plants are turned down or completely turned off overnight because there's so little demand, it would be a waste. And therefore, the genuine CO2 output, there's all these very tedious arguments about, if you have an electric car but you power it by a coal burning power station, I'm sure you've all heard them. When you charge your car at night, it just isn't the case. One of the things I asked him, which I must admit I feel stupid now, I didn't understand, was, can't you turn down nuclear power stations? And he explained very gently that no, you can't. They're either running or you're running away from them as fast as you can. That's just what he was saying. So that really, I think one of the things that's probably very different to the UK, with the UK from the United States, is the number of electric cars. There's about 3,000 or 4,000 electric cars on the road in the whole of the UK. That's increasing, thankfully, at quite a rapid rate. And what I've been really intrigued to see is the difference in the 2 years I've been driving this Nissan Leaf. The change in general public opinion has been from really pretty 100% negative to either very positive or intrigued. Much more open-minded. There was enormous resistance when I first drove it, and everyone who heard that I was driving it said, "Oh, you're an idiot, and they're dirtier than diesels, and didn't you hear what Jeremy Clarkson said," and all that stuff. Jeremy Clarkson has a very big impact in this country. He, the presenter of Top Gear, he is very anti-electric cars. He lives about 10 miles up the road from me. And I very often drive past his house very quietly in my Nissan Leaf, and I wave in the most polite way. So there is a lot of kind of public resistance to it. I guess I think it's, from judging from the stuff I've read and seen coming from America, it's not quite as extreme. The people who in the United States, maybe in the Midwest bit, the middle bit, who hate electric cars for political reasons rather than any other. There's a little bit of that in this country, which is personified by Jeremy Clarkson, but it's certainly nothing like that much. And the current government, which is a fairly right-wing, the equivalent of the Republican Party, very pro-electric vehicles, very almost pro-renewable energy. They keep dithering, but we are moving rapidly in that direction, and it's very encouraging that initial sort of resistance to electric cars and what they represent and what they're really capable of is slightly changing. There's now about 40 Nissan Leaf taxis in various companies in various towns around the UK. So people are getting the experience of being in them, because that's certainly my experience. I'm sure you've had the same thing. As soon as someone goes in it or drives it, and a lot of different people have driven my car, they're instantly converted. It is extraordinary. And there's a gentleman in my village who is a very wealthy businessman. He has a collection of cars, Ferraris, Lamborghinis, Porsches, huge Range Rovers and Bentleys and Rolls Royces, and he had one drive in the Nissan Leaf, and the next day he bought one, which was very annoying. Who had to struggle away to save up to find the money to buy one, but I was really pleased that he bought one. I only got jealous when he then installed solar panels in his orchard, and I underline the word orchard because he's got an orchard, and he's put in 60 solar panels in his orchard, and I've got 14 on my roof. So now I'm jealous and bitter, massive chip on my shoulder, normal stuff for a Brit. But anyway, I think what would be good, because I don't, I'm as interested to hear your stories as I'm sure you are mine, and I would love to, if there's any questions you've got that you can ask, and I think you have to pass around the pillow with the microphone in, which is just such a cool idea. I love that. I would be very happy to try and answer them. I can explain to you why I got into them and all those things, but in a way it's very difficult. I feel like I'm speaking in a vacuum and I'm hoping someone's listening.
Hey, Robert.
I've just seen a hand go up. Yes!
Hello? Pass the pillow. Who wants it?
There's an accelerometer in the pillow, by the way, so when you throw it, the mic turns off.
Hi there. Just wondering if you can tell us a bit about how battery degradation is happening in England. Obviously, you have cooler weather, so I would think we'd have less of an issue we've had in the United States in the hot areas, but if you could speak to that.
Yeah. I mean, there's certainly, there's no one I've met yet, and there's one person in the UK who's done over 70,000 miles in their Leaf, had it the same time I have, and they haven't noticed any change at all. Now, the big difference we have here is that in the summer, like this time of year in the UK, I have actually managed to get over 100 miles. I got 106 miles on one charge, deliberately to see how far I could get. So I was driving extremely carefully. And the beginning of, I live very high up in a hilly area, and I began the route by going downhill. So I cheated then. But I did manage to do 106 miles. Now in the winter, that would be absolutely impossible. Even without heaters on, even if you're wearing skiing gear and goggles and gloves, you would not get 106 miles. So I say in the winter, a realistic range of 70 miles. In the summer, a realistic range of sort of 85 to 90, like in normal driving. I've done both extremes. I've been in the winter to see how quickly I could drain the batteries. When I was going shopping in the local town, which is 25 miles away, And it was pretty close to empty when I got back, so 50 miles in the winter, hammering that car as hard as I could. There's a very big long hill to climb up to get out of the town. The town's in a valley to where I live. So I reckon you can get it down to below 50 in winter and above 100 in summer. So, but in terms of degradation, I mean, I've absolutely seen none. I've just been at the Nissan the European Research Development Plant this week, and I was at the factory where we're making Nissan Leafs in this country a couple of weeks ago. I've shot programs for both of these things. There is a Nissan Leaf at the Leaf factory in Sunderland, in the north of England, that is only ever charged on a rapid charger. So on a 440 volt charger. It's never been charged anywhere else. It's always charged on that, and they drive it every day. They've done getting on for 100,000 miles in that car. There's still no sign of any battery degradation on that car. So I think we don't know. I think there's going to be some cars where there is some battery degradation. I've certainly heard of it. I think actually more in very high temperatures seems to be more of a problem. There's a lot of Leaf drivers I've spoken to in Oslo, and I was there in March, and it was only -5. I've been to the Arctic Circle in midwinter. It was -35 centigrade. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit. Let me tell you, it's very, very cold. There is a test you can do if you're a gentleman, where you can release fluid from your body, and it will freeze before it hits the ground. And it does work. You can make green marbles. But it's very painful to do. You don't want to do it for too long, believe me. But none of those Leaf owners seem to have any problem at all. The stories I've heard have really come out of like New Mexico, Arizona, where you plug the car in on a asphalt car park where the temperature's already 30 degrees, 40 degrees centigrade. The temperature under the car and in the batteries is very, very high. That seems to be more of an issue for Nissan. So I don't know. I mean, 28,000 miles now. I was very proud of that, but I'm now meeting more and more people who've done way more than that. So I think we don't know yet, but it certainly seems 100,000 miles is perfectly reasonable thing to expect the car will do that without any noticeable degradation.
I have a question. When we drive around and park at various places here in California, my husband and I have created a handout that we keep in the glove box, and we hand it out whenever we see somebody craning their neck, passing by our car, looking at it intensely. I just pop out and give him one, and him or her a handout. I was wondering if you have found curious people all around England as you're there, that you have promoted the car or explained the car or talked about the car with constantly, or not at all as much interest as we have here in California, which is nearly constant every time we go out.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is what a good idea, and I'm going to print some. It's a very good idea, because I do get asked. I particularly get asked at sort of public car parks. So if some people have witnessed me parking the car and they realise it's quiet, that's when I often get asked questions at like supermarkets or big shopping centres where there's car parks. Then that often attracts attention. What I find interesting though with the Leaf is that far less people, they just think it's a car. It looks like a car. But for the year before I had the Nissan Leaf, I was driving a car called the Mitsubishi i-Me, which kind of looks unusual anyway. I think there's a Peugeot version of it as well, the Ion. So it looks more unusual on British streets, and a lot more people ask that. And this was also a promotional vehicle, so it had leaves and flowers painted all over it, and it had a huge sign on the back saying, "I am an electric car," which was a bit of a clue. So a lot more people would come up and ask me about that car than the Leaf. And I find that a lot of people, say I've talked to someone about electric cars, and then they come with me to the car park and they see me getting in that, and they go, "Is that one electric?" Like they don't know, and I go, "Yes, it is." And then they're really intrigued and interested. But I think it's remarkable the amount, the lack of sort of people who kind of look at it, because it doesn't look unusual. It looks like there's so many other vehicles that look similar to it. It's only when they get up close and realise it's not making any noise when it's moving that they start to ask questions. When I drove the Tesla Roadster, I had one of those for 2 weeks in this country. It was a bright red one. everywhere I went, everyone stopped me and everyone wanted to see the engine, which is very difficult to show them because you can't see it.
So I'll take the chairman's. Go ahead.
Okay, last question. In England, if you produce more electricity on your solar system than you use, will the national grid pay you for it?
Yes, there is a feed-in tariff, which was, I think, unnecessarily high. The average cost of electricity in the UK is about 20 to 24 pence a kilowatt hour when you buy it from the national grid or from your supplier. If you install solar panels up to about 18 months ago, you get about 43 pence a kilowatt hour for all the electricity that went into the grid. And there was a huge lot of resentment and fighting about that, because essentially it was wealthy middle-class people who had a roof that was big enough, who could afford to put solar panels on, who could then charge that money. The majority of the population who weren't in that position, who were poor, had to pay for it. You know, there's all those sorts of political arguments about it. So the tariff has been reduced a great deal. In fact, I personally don't get the feed-in tariff. And what I've noticed is my electricity bill, even with we have a plug-in Prius and a Nissan Leaf, and even with those two vehicles, our electricity bill has more than halved in the last year. And my last electricity bill, which I got from my supplier 2 weeks ago, I had credit of £289. So, you know, we use so much. We produce so much electricity from the panels anyway that, in a sense, the benefit for me comes from that. I'm too old to ever sort of get my money back. That's not why I got them. You know, I wanted them, and I'm actually planning now to put a load more in my garden and develop a much bigger project, which I won't go into now, but a kind of an overnight storage project using water. Because I live near a river, so we've got a lot of water around here. That's one thing we're not short of in the UK. We're very lucky. We're not short of water, believe me. We've got loads of it.
All right, Bob. Okay, good. Thank you. I'll take the chairman's prerogative and ask another question, which is, Robert, here in California, only in about the last year have we seen the build-out of public charging infrastructure to the point where people who live at one end of the bay can feel no reservations about jumping into their car and driving to San Francisco, a distance of maybe 80 kilometers, 55 miles, something like that.
Yeah.
So what is the comparative experience that you have in the UK, particularly outside of the major cities? I imagine probably not so built out yet, or what is the situation in the UK, and how do you feel about hopping in your Leaf and going somewhere?
I mean, it has changed remarkably since I've had the car. So 2 years ago when I first got it, and particularly the year before that when I had the iMe, it was very sparse. There were certain areas in London where there would be street chargers. There were 1 or 2 car parks that had them in London. There were a couple of car parks in other cities that had dedicated electric car charging places. I'd say in the last 18 months, we've had 123 rapid chargers put in. I mean, you've got to remember that England is a very small place. If you drive all day in England, you'll hit the sea. There's really nowhere else you can go. So it's not a big island in comparison with the United States. It's very small. So 123 rapid chargers are making a really big difference. They're not all installed. They're all installed. They're not all operating yet. There's 1 or 2. There's a lot of frustration with EV users here because they can see it, but it's not running. But there are about 6 in different directions from where I live. So it's absolutely transformed the way I use the car. I'm 100 miles from London. So theoretically, you know, on paper, I should be able to get into London on one charge. But as you know, you would be an idiot if you tried that. So I now stop at about 45 miles from my house. I charge for literally 10 minutes. That's all I need on a rapid charger. Which costs me nothing. I have a card that opens it, but that was sent for nothing. And the company that produced that are the biggest wind energy supplier in the UK. They don't charge any users for that electricity. That usually jumps me up to about 85 miles. I've got another 45 miles or so to get into London, so I have enormous amounts of extra, anxiety-reducing range. And, it's a very easy to use. Once I'm in London, I can use there's now, literally, I think there's about 2,500 street charge posts. So, it's got much better. But when you go to a city like Oslo, which I was in recently, they have electric car-only car parks. That's the level of integration there. So there are car parks where you can't drive a petrol car into. And every single parking space has an electrical outlet. And there are I don't know if there's tens of thousands, there's certainly many, many thousands of electric vehicles in Oslo. When you see that level of what the way that's changed the city, it is remarkable change. I mean, they also have the benefit of 100% renewable electricity already. They're all hydro and wind anyway, so they were before electric cars emerged recently. So all the arguments about CO2 emissions and burning coal and everything are completely irrelevant in Norway. So they are really the city I've been to, which is the furthest ahead. Berlin are catching up fast. Paris is catching up fast. There's a lot of the Renaults, the Zoes and Twizzes in Paris is very exciting. But it's certainly growing here, and I've now seen about a dozen leafs in the wild as I'm driving around, and we do wave at each other in a rather pathetic way. Because it's still a special sight when you see another leaf.
Hi, Robert. My name is Brent. I just wanted to say I'm a big fan of Fully Charged. I think I've seen pretty much all of the episodes and really enjoyed them. Also, my question
thank you.
Is we just watched your thing on the Nissan vehicle to home, and since you live in a rural area and you own a Leaf and you have solar panels, it almost seems like you're positioned as someone who might occasionally be off the grid because of storms and stuff. I just wondered if you've thought or heard of any plans to have the vehicle to home type technology tested or implemented anytime soon?
I mean, I am constantly badgering Nissan all the time, and they've been very good to me, because they're about to loan me a 2013 Nissan Leaf, which I would like to quickly tell you about, because I don't think, in case you haven't seen it, but it is an amazing, a lot of improvements in it. It's certainly something I'd really like to do, and I'm waiting as well for, I want some Nissan Leaf batteries to fail, because I'm on the list from Nissan to get some, because if I could have, say, 2 Nissan Leaf battery packs, I have room in my garage to install them, and I've got a very good electrician, they would be fantastic as a backup storage system for power for the house. So it is all those things. I think we're waiting to see that starting to integrate. And it's going to be very specialised. It's going to be ridiculous people like me that will do it first. And it's not so much that I want to get off the grid. It's just that I want to reduce my need to, buy electricity which is made by burning coal. I want to reduce it to the maximum amount. We're still about between 30 and 40% of the UK power is from burning coal, which is it's going down, thankfully, but it still is the case. They haven't offered me anything yet. I'm really hoping they will. I certainly annoyed them enough. When can I have one of those boxes that I can charge my house with? But it hasn't happened yet. But I don't know if any of you've seen the 2013 Nissan Leaf, so the new model. I mean, the one that I've just driven. They say it has 100 improvements on the original one, some of which are very, very subtle, and some of which are purely cosmetic. But the really big difference is the heater and the AC unit, which is they're saying 70% more efficient. And I certainly know in the UK, if I'm driving along in the winter and it's cold outside, say it's sub-zero temperatures outside, and I put the heater on, I'll see my range diminish by about 10 miles on the range monitor on the dashboard. And in the new one, I was driving, it was -5 in Oslo, and I was driving along, and I put the heater on full blast, full fan, top temperature, and it dropped by 2 miles. That was so a much less drop in. There was a much less demand on the battery, and not only that, it was really hot, really quick. So it's a heat pump. It's like an air source heat pump. That's what's operating. It uses much less power, and it really makes an enormous difference. The whole battery management system, the recharging system, is now all in the front of the car. The trunk in the car is it just seems wrong. It's just so big. So there's a great big box in the back of our Nissan Leaf, sort of a kind of ridge behind the rear seats. That's gone. It's now a big, deep trough in the back. I would say it's slightly faster. It's about, 60 kilos lighter. And they're saying that it gives a range of 120 miles. Well, from driving it in very cold temperatures, I could see that there was a realistic 100-mile range in that car, actually achievable without having run out, still a couple of bars left on the batteries, still 100 miles in it. And so I haven't driven one here at any great distance. I drove one, I don't know if any of you have heard of a man called Richard Noble, but he built a car a few years ago called Thrust. The supersonic thrust car, the car that broke the sound barrier in the Mojave Desert, or Black Rock, I think it was, in the 90s. And he is an absolute born and bred petrol head, speed freak. He's the fastest he's ever driven is 580 miles an hour in a rocket car. So that's what he's into. And he's buying a Nissan Leaf because he thinks they're really brilliant. So, and we went for a drive together the other day, the two of us, and he was really impressed with the car. So which is fantastic. If you get the chance and you remember, if you just go on YouTube and look up Thrust SSC, there is some footage of that car breaking the sound barrier on the floor of the desert, and it is utterly terrifyingly breathtaking. He is currently in the process of building a vehicle that will do 1,000 miles an hour, and someone's going to sit in it, an RAF pilot who's completely bonkers. So he's quite an extraordinary man. It's a great engineering achievement he's doing. So it's a great, Nissan obviously thrilled that he's a very keen advocate of that vehicle.
Hi, Robert.
Hi.
You mentioned that you'll be in the California area, you said August or September or so?
It's not confirmed at all. In fact, I probably shouldn't even mention it, but I am planning to do that, yes, I really hope so, yeah.
Okay, well, if you have the time available and you are here, we would definitely like to invite you to the BayLEAFs, second Saturday of the month.
I really hope I can come. I want to talk into the pillow, if nothing else.
Okay, last question.
One more quick point, Robert. We've, in true Silicon Valley style, we've located a charger nearby you, which you may not be aware of. It's near the campus of the University of Coventry on Stony Stanton Road.
All right.
And you can access this. There's a very good service called PlugShare that you can carry on your iPhone.
That's very good. Oh, good, because there's a lot of different apps. The one I use is Zap Maps, which shows it was very good at updating. And there's a group called Zero Carbon World who are installing standard 13 amp and 30 amp outlets all over, and they put in many thousands all over the place. Well, actually, one of the interesting things that has happened here is that many restaurants, hotels, cafes that have a car park have installed electric car charge points, and they're starting to see an increase in these are often in remote areas. It's not places in the middle of the town. These are in little villages or in the countryside, and they're noticing an increase in customers because people will deliberately drive there in electric cars so they can charge while they have lunch or while they stay overnight. And I'm doing a trip later this year, which is via a series of very small hotels into the darkest corner of Wales, which is a very remote area. Very few people live there, but these are all very small hotels, like privately run hotels that we call bed and breakfasts. I don't know if you have that same setup there. And three of the ones I'm staying at, they produce all their own power, so either through water or solar. One has a wind turbine on the hill behind them as well. So there's an enormous amount of that going on in little pockets in the UK, as opposed to sort of big things. But that's a very good one to know. There's also a very nice hotel between me and Coventry that put in a rapid charger in their car park, and they weren't even sure what it was, and I was the first person to use it, and they were so thrilled when I turned up and plugged in, and they went, "Oh, that's what it does." It was quite an extraordinary experience, but that is brilliant. The one thing that we do get here a lot, I think you get it as well, is you get there was a good term for it, which I think was originally American, where a petrol vehicle is parked in the electric car only space. I've forgotten what it's called.
You get iced.
Yes, iced. Thank you. There is the one in Oxford that I use regularly. But it's always a black BMW. It's parked in the space. But luckily, it's wide enough that I drive up on the grass bit by the side of it at a funny angle, and I can pull the cable right across the bonnet. I've never been iced yet. There'll come a time, I know, but it does seem to be BMW drivers in this country are particularly aggressive about electric vehicles.
We call it towing.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think it's getting on to being dinner time in the UK, right?
It is. Yeah, it is way past dinner time. Yes. No,
okay.
Yeah. I've gone on enough. Thank you very much for listening to me. I can tell, even from this distance, you're a lovely audience. I hope to meet you all one day.
Wow. And normally, we can see it from the laptop, actually. So normally, Robert, if you were here, we'd be presenting you with your speaker's gift, which would actually be the T-shirt that you're wearing. So Robert has his speaker's gift today, and thank you very much for taking time from your busy schedule. And there you go. I guess the other thing we may want to think about is since Robert's likes to stir up trouble with his neighbor there, perhaps we should do a horn upgrade for him sometime so that he's got a much louder horn when he drives by his friend's house. So, thanks again, Robert, and you're welcome to stay on for the rest of the program. If you have other things that you've got to get to, by all means, feel free to do that. So.
I'll stay for a bit. I do have a family that are waiting for me to go and eat, but it'll be all right for a while.
Right.
So
thanks again. All right. Very good. So a little bit out of sequence. Normally we would start with our host's remarks, but we're here at Evernote again for the first time. It's a beautiful place and ample charging and. Perhaps somebody... Oh, Kathy?
There's a quick charging space available.
There is. There is quick charge space available, so if someone needs it, feel free. So what I'd like to do, if any of you saw the video that we posted on our website or out on Facebook, as a little bit of a backgrounder to Evernote, one of the people that was in that video is Stephen Latour, who's the IT director here at Evernote. So I'd like to invite him up for a few comments about Evernote and the programs that they have for employees.
While we get our slideshow set up here and ready, first of all, I want to welcome you guys to Evernote. Thank you for coming. Hopefully you guys are enjoying the venue. And by show of hands, how many of you actually use Evernote? All right, that's great. All right, so we ready? Okay. Okay, well, I'm going to talk about our EV program. I'm sure some of you guys may have seen the video our battery EV program. I'll take a few moments to discuss it. I realize time is short, so I'm trying to make this brief, and I'll maybe take a couple questions after.
Just a brief comment, Steve. Robert says he does use Evernote.
Oh, great. Glad to hear that, Robert. Thank you. So anyway, welcome you guys. Thanks for coming. Obviously, Evernote's a big EV company. A lot of people ask us a battery EV program. We've had a lot of media press. I posted a couple of videos. We've been featured now on Tech Now, NBC, National NBC News, and also by Nissan America has come out and done a little clip as well. So we've got a lot of media coverage. We've had some other reporters come in the building that have written us up in different blogs across the world, so that's been kind of exciting. So I'll go into a little bit about what it is. It's basically a subsidy that we provide our staff, $250 a month, eligible towards any HOV vehicle. Now, obviously in the Leaf, we negotiated a deal with Nissan as an incentive, and as a result of that, basically it covers the entire cost of a 39-month lease. So this $250 a month goes towards that vehicle. Of course, they can choose a Tesla if they want. We still only pay them $250 a month, but it works out great. Obviously, the whole idea, aside from all the green issues, is people ask, well, why do you guys do this? Well, we're a productivity app company, and our whole idea is to make our employees more productive. And if we can do something to make our employees more productive, this kind of aligns with our philosophy. So let's talk about the cars. These are obviously some of the cars that are HOV eligible. And by the numbers. Here's the numbers of the vehicles that we actually have here at Evernote now. So, these numbers grow every day. We get new employees that come on board. Our staff also, we provide a Caltrains pass for our employees if they want to come to work by Caltrain. We provide that pass. We also have a shuttle bus that takes employees to and from the city. But this is a great incentive for folks like myself. I commute from Los Gatos every day. So the Leaf has really changed my life, made my commute a lot more tolerable. So some of you folks probably sit in traffic a lot before, and it's taken all that away. So cut my commute time less than half. It's made a huge impact in my life. So here's some of the chargers we have. We have one high-speed charger. We have 10 of the level 2s. We have 6 more of the level 2s planned. So as we've added more cars, we've had to add more chargers. We run a nice rotational schedule here at work. We actually have a Google Calendar that shares the charging, and everyone's schedules a slot. And so we rotate time. So my time every day is 8 to 11 a.m. And folks know, they know who are before you and after you. We try to work out among each other so we can move our cars and not impede each other's time. So during the day, if you need to come get a charge, good luck. Chargers are usually occupied at least until 4 o'clock, but usually after that you can come in and get a slot, or of course on weekends. But if you come during the weekday, chances are every slot will be filled. Most of us also have the chargers at our house, which has made a huge difference. Quick question?
Yeah, I'm just going to ask in terms of, having to juggle cars around in level 2, have you thought about the trade-offs between, say, putting, 110-volt outlets in the entire parking lot and letting everybody just sit there?
Well, that's how we started initially, is with the 110 chargers, and once we put the level 2 in, it made a huge difference because you can charge in 2-3 hours, and the 110 chargers took a lot longer. As we add more chargers, it should make that kind of a moot point, hopefully. And again, most of us have the chargers at home. It's been great for me because my commute would require about 12 hours of charge on the 110. Now it's about 3. So it made, again, a huge difference. So let's go and talk about the subsidy and kind of some of the math and the economics behind it and why it makes sense for us. And we want to use this as a model for other companies and why it would make sense for them. Obviously, the average time saved per employee per day is about an hour. And in many cases, it's more than that. The time saved for me is double that. And we're just looking at kind of the average here. The average cost of time saved per employee per day is $120. The average cost per employee per month of charge is $25. The average Evernote return on investment for that is 2 to 3 days. So you can see why that makes sense. So that $250 subsidy pays itself off very quickly. And that's how we do it. We look at the math. A lot of people don't realize. Well, they think, wow, that's a lot of money. But when you do the math, it makes a lot of sense really fast. Okay? That's all I have. Anybody have any questions, comments?
The box is right behind you. There you go.
Nissan apparently is going to open up the API. So is Evernote going to do anything with that?
Actually, I'm glad to hear that. I actually wanted to ask about the API being open. Obviously, as being software developers here, the API is something that we'd love to have open so that we can make apps for it or develop against it. So that's great news. I was actually going to be curious about that. I suspect because we have a lot of engineering talent here in the Valley, we'll see a lot of folks developing on that API very soon.
I see you have a 30 leaf, but you only have a 10 charging station. How you manage that? People all jump in, first come, first service, or you have some calendar managing that?
It's a great question. We have a Google shared calendar, and we have all the chargers listed on the calendar. You essentially, if you find an empty slot, you just put your name on the slot, and everybody who has an EV vehicle shares the calendar. And we have folks, if they're out of the office that day, we'll go and make a note that they're out of the office that day so someone can take that slot. And we have a group email for folks who have electric vehicles so they can send an email to the group and say, I'm out of the office today and tomorrow, my slot's available between 11 and 1, for example. So we have a great means of communicating here internally about the slots that are available. But everyone has a assigned slot for them. For example, my charger is L210, and my slot is L210 every day from 8 to 11 a.m. And the person behind me, I always let her know if I move early. I go to her desk and say, I've moved my car, it's all free for you. Oftentimes I can charge in about 2.5 hours, and I'll let her know so she has plenty of time to get her car in the spot. So we're pretty good about rotating here. It was chaos at first, so we had to figure out a way to get it organized, and I think we've done a pretty good job.
I have a question about the other people. The people who have not gotten an EV, how many employees do you have here? And then what do you think the reason is that more have not taken up this incredible offer?
Good question. Our total employees worldwide are approaching 400. In this facility here, we've got close to 200 employees. So close to 25% of our staff now have an EV vehicle. The reason not everyone is taking advantage of it is because some folks prefer to take the Caltrain. Some folks live in the city and it's just not practical for them to have a vehicle in the city. So a lot of the folks who have taken advantage of the program are folks who are here in the South Bay or on the peninsula. Some folks also live in a condominium or an apartment that don't really have the facilities to charge a vehicle home. So again, it just hasn't been practical for them.
Okay. So with your Google Share plan, you can use the same spot, but somebody has to go out and move their car and let the other car pull in, right?
Correct. One person will, when their spot's done, will go move their car, and then the party behind them will be able to pull in behind them.
Have you thought about having the charging stations that you install in the future, for example, be in a middle row where you could have cars parked on both sides of the station, only half of them being used at once? But then in that case, all you'd have to do is unplug the car and plug it into your car. In other words, why not have excess parking places for each charging station to accommodate changes in charge?
Well, that's a good question. The new chargers that we have coming are designed just that way. And those new chargers, you'll see that the entire front part of the parking garage has the chargers. We're going to go along the side close to the freeway now with the new line of chargers, so we're going to do just that. We're going to have one charger with 2 cables. So,
another question. Have you thought about what you're going to do when the HOV stickers sunset?
That's a good question. We haven't thought that far ahead yet. Well, I guess we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
I know this is off the topic, but I'm a school teacher. How do you get one of these? I'm sorry, but this is like really cool, and I just looked them up online. You can't buy them yet. So
yeah, they are a beta product. Our CEO Phil Libben is friends with the CEO of this Catchbox company, and they basically provided this as a trial. So we've had this device now, I guess, about 4 months, and we've already got some suggestions to improve the product, which was some of the ideas behind it. And it's been great. All of the times when we have the events here, people love these catch boxes.
Would they be interested in having it beta tested in a classroom?
Great question.
Just asking.
I'm sure they'll be available on the market here very soon. Their company, if I recall, they're in Norway or Sweden?
They're in Norway.
Okay. All right.
I want to go back to that slide, which actually had the calculation and how you're doing that. Can you just start buying billboards and put that on 101?
I think it'd be great if we could do that, actually. We have spoken to other companies, and Nissan came and spoke to us, and we think that other companies are going to see the value behind this, improving their employees' quality of lives. If they can save an hour or 2 per day for their staff, it'll pay back for them in the productivity of their employee, certainly the happiness of the employee. That's kind of how we see this. You may have seen the video I've done. Basically, if I come to work and I get here in 30 minutes, I'm a much happier person than sitting in traffic for 2 hours. You just want to tear someone's head off. You guys can probably relate. If you're in bumper to bumper, it's very stressful. So getting to work in 30 minutes is, you feel refreshed, you have a cup of coffee, you get right to work, and that's made a huge difference. When I get home in the evening, I get home much faster, I get happier for my kids, and I think other companies, when they see the value behind that, I think they're going to jump on the bandwagon.
Fantastic. And also give that to Elon for his spreadsheet when he says how cheap the car is, to add it to the payment reductions. That's one. The other was yesterday in the governor's work group session. My advice to them was to adjust the Amber Alerts instead of buckling up or report drunk drivers, that they actually should say drive electric, you'd already be there. Very good.
So I think after this weekend, the high-speed charging from Blink is going to start costing money. And the other Blinks you have here, I guess they have fees associated with those?
Yeah, the fees, how that works for us essentially is that 50 cents on the dollar gets reimbursed back to Evernote because we're paying for the electricity. We do provide our employees who have EV cars with a Blink card. So we pay for their charging here in the office. And again, 50 cents on the dollar that get charged come back to the company because it is also available to the public who chooses to use them.
Okay, so you intentionally went with a service that has a charging mechanism instead of going with just some free chargers?
I'm not sure what the logic behind why they selected Blink, or I wasn't part of that decision process. I think it was because we got a good incentive to install so many of their chargers.
The additional ones you're adding now, are they going to be Blink as well?
I believe they're going to be from Nissan. I think Nissan has stepped up and they're going to provide us with a series of new chargers.
So there's a proposal to take the HOV lanes, the high occupancy vehicle or EV lanes, if you will, and make them into HOT lanes, which will allow people to get in them with toll. Some people call them Lexus lanes. And I'm wondering whether companies like Evernote, which sort of are promoting their people buying EVs and using that, whether the HOT lanes will reduce that incentive, and whether companies like Evernote will actually lobby against such a move.
I can't comment on that because I don't know. I think if it's possible that we could provide that as an incentive to reduce the commute for our staff, it might be something we may pursue, but that hasn't happened yet. I guess we'll have to get across the bridge when we come to it. I would like to say this. If anybody else had this idea I have a permanent marker pen. I would love to have Mr. Inoue sign my car under the hood. I think that'd be great to have his autograph under my car. I think since he's here, why not? So I brought a pen. We have a moment. I'd love for you to pop my hood and have you sign underneath it somewhere for me.
All right, thanks very much, Steve. Let's thank Steve and Evernote again. And we have our AV specialist, Bill, here as well. And of course, for hosting and for speaking here today, you get your SF BayLEAFs t-shirt. So
thank you.
Thanks again. Mike, did you have an announcement you need to make real quick on charging?
It has come to my attention that we need to schedule the DC fast charger. So anyone who would like to schedule a slot, come see me over there. Thank you.
All right, very good. Can we switch over to... all right, so we should have video coming back. While we're waiting for the video to come back, I want to just introduce, besides Inoue-san, who is here, is going to give our next presentation, we have some other folks from Nissan here. Let's see, I saw Jeannie Lamb back there. There's Jeannie. Jeannie's the local B2B manager. So I think she's got an announcement that she wants to make. Can we hold off a little bit on that? Okay. And David Peterson back there from Nissan in Southern California. And Koji Doda, who's here from the Nissan Silicon Valley Research Office. We're talking with one of Koji's coworkers about having next month's meeting there. So it's not set yet, but that's the tentative plan. Anyone else from Nissan that came today? I think that was it, right? Okay. So I do want to bring up, again, Masato Inoue from Nissan Motors Limited in Japan. Again, the chief designer of the Nissan Leaf up until March of last March. And now in charge of design for all future EVs, right? So very honored to have him, and we'll bring his presentation up, and off we'll go. So.
Okay. Thank you very much. So I've been working on EV from maybe 2001 or something. And before making Leaf, I made many of show cars, concept cars, like it's the car called Peebo, which can rotate. It's a long time ago, 2004, 5, something like. And at that time, I collaborated with Kazuta-san. So he was also engineer of, Mr. Kazuta is a chief vehicle engineer of the Leaf. And so we collaborate from that time. And I feel as an electric vehicle, Leaf is quite big meaning. And what I really like is when I engaged with Leaf, I feel like I can work for future children for the future and future humankind. It's really good to me, and I'd like to keep working with AV with this mind. And so today, I'd like to introduce my life with Leaf, how I drive and use my Leaf in Japan. And I have just one proposal for the EV diffusion. So this is just my idea. So I will explain. And so if you guys have any question, please ask me. And today I don't speak about the hidden story while I make a leaf. So I'd like to, but I don't have much time, so I better concentrate this. But please ask me any kind later. Okay, so like this. This is my using circumstance, my daily commute to Nissan Design Center. Actually, this is a map. Actually, if this is Kanagawa Prefecture, Tokyo is about here. And Atsugi, where Nissan Design Center is, almost in the middle of Kanagawa Prefecture, and my home is rather countryside, mountainside, and close to Ashinoko Lake. It's called Hakone. And from Hakone to Atsugi, it's about 50 kilometers, 35 miles, something like. And 20 kilometers of the mountain road and 30 kilometers of the highway. And so, if from a side, if I look at the altitude of my home is 850 meters, and then I go back and forth Atsugi office, this road every day. So daily commute is 100 kilometers times 20 days in a month comes to 2,000 kilometers. And the weekend trip, I often go to Tokyo area like Shibuya or something. And the trip gonna be like 200 kilometers or a little bit more. And 2 times or 3 times in the month, it comes to more than 500 kilometers. So every month I run like 2,500 kilometers. So it's quite a bit other Japanese probably, but not here. And I just compare my monthly expense between former ICE, which have 8 kilometers per liter, and gas price in Japan is about $1.6 US. So it comes to $500 US every month. And in case of AV, 50 in my case. And so if I go to Tokyo one time, it's gonna be $44 US, but in case of leaf, 3.5. So it's so economic. Eco means ecology or economic either way, but I'm very happy with it. Then, so when I go to Tokyo, I usually do, what I usually do is from Hakone to Tokyo, like Shibuya area, I can go there and come back to Atsugi. Actually, there are freeway charging spot near Atsugi. Then I make 30 minutes quick charge and come back to my home. This is ordinary pattern. And if I go a little bit further to Tokyo, I make 15 minutes charge around Tokyo. And later I make 30 minutes at here and come back. This is my usual pattern. And in Japan, the quick charging spot is probably you guys know. In Tokyo and Kanagawa especially, I think the infrastructure is already made. And more than 400 quick charge is there. 400. And so now Japanese government is saying that put more power on to make more charging spot. But for Tokyo and Kanagawa, I think it's already enough. And then the more you drive leaf, the more you save. And I think approximately annual errand kilometer, total kilometer, times 0.2 US dollar. For example, like if you run, my case, 30,000 kilometer per year. 30,000 times 0.2, right?
6,000.
$6,000, right? Yes. I think it's annually gain. But in case of Japan, but probably not so different. And I'm running so far 58 and 500 kilometers. And I will always consider good idea. I'm searching for a good idea for EV diffusion. And today, this is the first time to show. So I hope you guys like it. I think there are three sides who relate to the EV. One is the government, and the incentive for the EV diffusion is important yet a little bit costly. And we need to find a sustainable way of aid for EV. Probably government could thinking like that. And for all enterprise company, employees' daily commuting costs run up to 10% of the average labor cost. And EV is good for employee life quality. I think Steve of Evernote is realizing and doing this kind of activity already. And people who want to buy EV is if I buy EV, daily commuting cost will be a lot cheaper, yet my company will decrease the amount of gas fee. Is it fair? Probably he will think like this. So then are there win-win ideas? I think there is. I hope. I think key driver is present daily commute enormous gas fee. Actually, if EV energy cost will be approximately 1/4 to 1/10 of ICE, if you run 100 km per day, approximately 60 miles, the saving will be 400 to 500 a month. This calculation is in Japan. If the half of amount goes to EV driver, who is an employee, and the rest of half goes to company, who is an employer, monthly, they will be happy. And let's say it half and half salary. I'm not sure Steve's way, 250 for each could be, it's very generous, but at here it depends case by case. So people to people it's different. So government law is push half and half salary and accelerate normal charging station at office as an incentive. So normal charging station at office as global incentive, government incentive is the best way to use EV is to plug always when parking, like a hose. When you put a EV like a hose, please plug. If the equipment is down, I think EV is a lot easier to use. So let's give one charger to one parking lot by government expense. And since average office hours 8 to 9 hours, normal charger works better than quick charger in several points. Worry free for next person. And 100 top-up charging. Actually, quick charger is 100% charging is difficult, or it's not tender to the battery. So, I have to say, I'm running nearly 60,000 kilometers, but my battery is pretty healthy because I'm always charging normal charge in home and in company. So I think yes, always. But slowly. So I mean normal charge. I mean type 2 200 volt. Yes. And the cheaper equipment cost, of course. And if traffic is more frequent, I mean not the 8 to 9 hours stay, but like 2-3 hours going outside and come back like more like a company car. I think it's better to have a more quick charger. And I think the balance totally would be like 10 normal charge with one quick charger added. So like Evernote way is very reasonable to me. And for example, how about the government to make smartphone application? Let's go to office by EV. Evernote could make it? I'm not sure. This is coincidence. But so the way of use is like he is an EV intended, and he is the company's human resource department person. So they look this application together because the case, I mean circumstance of the daily commuting is different people to people. So I just made it briefly. This is front page. and the EV daily commute setup support application. And the input page is with EV navigation style, distance and altitude difference can be input, and sorry for small letters, but average number of commute in months, and electric cost at home, and usually how much you pay, company pay for the monthly gas fee. These numbers need to be input here, and the detailed condition is around here. Then this application makes automatically proposal page, which is a ratio of paid commuting fee is comparing to before is 40% will be paid for the EV user. This is just calculation in a case, and this is the dedicated normal charging station to parking. So with parking, there are 200 volt type 2 charging station is with, and all electric paid by owner. So pay owner need to pay for even for the company charging cost, but as you know, the electric charging cost is almost nothing. So, and in this case, $114 for the user, EV holder, and same amount to the company. So this whole application is between he and him. How much we can gain is become very obvious with
in the case in Japan, a company or government would supplement an employee with money for gas. Both? Government or no government? From company. So Evernote here would give an employee a Caltrans ticket for the train, or free charging for EVs, or they might give a gas card like a Shell or a Chevron card to employees every month, and they would be like a perk, a benefit of working here at Evernote. So this would be the Evernote human resources person would analyze this employee's commute and say, you will benefit from an EV this much per month, right?
Yes.
Instead of giving a gas card, they will do this analysis and promote EV. That's what you want.
Hi, my name is Phil Keys, and I actually lived 10 years in Japan. So I can help explain some of the background. Is in Japan, I didn't get gas, but I got my subway and train fee was paid by the company. So that's actually in Japan. You get the companies are obligated to help pay for the transportation expenses to get back and forth to the company, which is not true here in the United States. So that's just a basic difference between the two countries.
I see. So, in case of the United States, the every month
we get nothing.
So, you pay.
Yes.
Oh.
Welcome to Evernote is very unusual.
Evernote. I see.
Clarification.
Okay. I show this to Japanese.
Just a clarification. That is true for most companies. Some companies will pay all or part, but for the most part, most American companies do not help with the travel cost for employees.
Less than 1%. RTM.
Mine does, fortunately.
Silicon Valley.
So if you go to like a long distant company, it's your own expense. See. But anyway, so you already have a kind of key driver by yourself, and if you learn in very cheap way, that means what do you gain? I see.
But also, traditionally, long time, many years, if someone was to give a benefit to an employee, it would be a car. So here in America, they would give their company car, and the person would use it on the weekend too. So that would be the way of benefit would happen. But there is a lot of incentives now for giving train tickets, like Caltrains, or whatever. But this information could still come from HR, because HR sometimes helps people with school districts, a good school district for moving. When people move, HR also tells them about maybe EV versus gas car, because if they move to the area, they tell them lots of things about schools, about houses. So HR would still be a good place to have such a benefit. And I think the American public has no way understood the math. They do not know the math of EVs at all. No. So there's still a lot of potential for EV promotion. Maybe not in this exact way.
Yeah. Probably up to here.
Yeah.
We
can use.
This is also in the United States. It's also dependent on which location. But one idea to promote EV use in a company is that in California, you can get paid for load shedding. In other words, because we're just shutting down a nuclear plant in San Diego, so there's under peak hours in the day, and when it gets very hot, the electric company needs to drop and they'll pay for people to use less electricity. So if you have cars charging at work, there's thought about you can incentivize
daytime charging,
right? Which I think could also work in Japan because you have a similar situation. So in the United States, that might, at least in California, that could work.
Peak load is a big problem with the air conditioning.
I see.
Here in California, we have lots of sunshine, and the government's offering incentives for home solar panels as well. So another reason people may choose EVs is because they can get much cheaper power that way if they own their home and can put solar panels on it.
So in conjunction with solar panels. So there's a lot of promotion of solar panels.
Yeah.
And if they marry the two, then you've got
Yeah.
Shall we let Inoue finish your presentation?
Okay. Then, so if there are power of the gain, ICE to EV, maybe, it's my story, but divide into two halves. EV owners eligible incentive and companies saved expense. But if company car, fleet car, those all go for company. And with charger, then people who want to buy EV at his ease, and I feel like autonomy is doubled. The longer I have EV, the more incentive expect. If this goes to company, we can save about this is Japanese way, but 5% of average labor cost. Still, EV is good for employees' life or quality. This is Evernote. And maybe government will find some way to more essential way of the usage for the aid for EV. So I thought a little bit the situation here was different. Sorry, but I think the way key driver is already there. So thank you.
There's a lot of research in battery technology. I'm wondering if you can share some thoughts where you think the future is going related to battery technology.
You mean the forecast for the battery?
Is it going to get cheaper? What's the range going to happen? What technology? Any of that kind of stuff?
This is what I feel. I started doing as a designer, not an engineer. I started EV exploration from 2001, and many times the engineer says maybe 5 years later there's going to be a big advance in battery performance, and 1 year ahead, then still they say 5 years. It's like how do you say the moving target? Yeah, moving target, or how can I say? In the daytime, there are kind of like a ghost mirage. So if you come closer, mirage go away. So we spend like 10 years like that, and now I'm thinking that there are no revolution, but evolution will be happen. That's what I'm thinking about.
Anyone else? One more, yeah.
I'm considering buying an EV. But I think having to do daily charging with a wire charger is kind of annoying to me, because the wire charger looks like a gasoline pump, and I hate gasoline pumping gas, with the pump going this way, that way. So then I read about, the wireless charger, and wireless charger?
Wireless charging, I see.
Right, and I read from the internet that Nissan maybe build that receiver pad into the Nissan car. Would that be coming soon? Would that be a standard feature for a Nissan car very soon? When would that happen?
I cannot say. It's very soon, but
Are you working on it?
yeah, I worked on it, but I cannot say when. But shouldn't be so far away.
Arthur, last question.
Yes, so right now electric vehicles are somewhat more expensive because they're not produced in as much quantity as gas vehicles. Do you have a guess on how many years in the future will be that there'll be so many electric cars produced in quantity that will achieve price parity in being able to buy an electric car versus a gas car without incentives?
So wait. I see. I think this is my personal thinking. But as I explained, I think EV is almost running cost free. And about 1/10 of the EV ICE gas fee. So I think including that, the how can I say, original initial price would be different. Not come, how can I say, quickly come closer equal. But if think about the total use cost, like 5 years, 6 years, I think EV is a lot, how can I say, useful and cheaper if think about 5, 6 years, even now. So it take time. Maybe I'm not sure. I'm not the engineer, but 5, 10 years. It's not to be equal, I think.
Thank you, and thank you for your work on designing the Leaf, and I'd like to give you a standing ovation for that.
So we have a very small gift for you. Inoue is on, so SF BayLEAFs t-shirt. Yeah. So Inoue will be around after the meeting, so happy to, let's get some pictures there. So we know Inoue is the designer of the Leaf, and we have many creative people here in the Bay Area that have made some customization of the Leaf, some small changes to the Leaf. So our secretary, Kim Kinoshita, has compiled this, as he did for the visit of Kadota-san. So I'm going to turn the program over to him, and while we switch the presentations, maybe Tom, do you want to make your announcement about getting involved?
A few of us suspect that the 12-volt battery in the Leaf doesn't get fully charged. And so if anybody's willing to put their hood up out in the parking lot, I'm going to go around with the voltmeter and see how widespread it is.
You need a 12?
The 12-volt battery, yeah.
Do you care if it's charging while you're doing that?
I do not want it to be charging or to have charged recently.
Who wants the fast charge? I'm about to move and it can be free.
All right, thank you, Howard. You're probably wondering why I'm always the guy that talks about all these cool ideas when I have not made any cool improvements by myself, but I've adapted some of them. And I think today, with Howard and some of the other guys, we've got quite a few of the upgrades and modifications in the parking lot. So I think after the meeting, you can see some of them. Okay, so actually, Howard put this slide together showing where all the fast chargers are presently in the Bay Area. And I didn't realize there were so many of them, to tell you the truth. I'm only used to the ones in the South Bay, and they're blink, and they're usually on the blink. So anyways, it's very encouraging that we have so many here. When, 6 months ago, maybe the number was very small. So if some of you recall, about 18 months ago, we had a meeting at Google last December 2011, and we had the chief vehicle engineer present, and we gave him an earful of what we thought were suggested improvements. And so we've made a lot of those improvements and modifications, and today I'm just going to briefly run through them. This deck, will it be available? Okay, so Howard will post the deck on the internet, so we don't have to dwell too much on each of them.
Yeah, give us a day.
Yeah, okay. Give Howard a day.
It won't be there tonight.
Okay. Tomorrow morning at 6, he'll have it up. Anyways, we talk about the various things that we've done that relate to how to better use the leaf, make it safer in many ways, and make it look better, and make it last longer. And these are the things that we talked about at Google. And so over the ensuing 18 months, we like to think that Nissan has listened, and as it turned out, the chief vehicle engineer acknowledged that he listened to us and has made many changes. We can't take credit for all of them, but maybe 99%. And some of the changes that are made, of course, came from other people's comments too. But before the meeting, we had a survey of all the Leaf owners on My Nissan Leaf forum, and we compiled those as well as some of the improvements that were discussed at our meetings prior to Kadoda-san's visit in December 11th. So I think I won't go through all this list because I'm going to touch upon some of these in the talk. And the goal was that I would talk about some of the improvements that people in the Bay Area made to acknowledge what they've done. And I was hoping they would be here, but so far I haven't seen any of the key people here. But so I'm going to muddle through this, and if any of you know a lot more than me, and it's probably most of you, can chime in if you find an error in my comments. So we have in the Bay Area had quite a few of the changes, and I think this table here highlights some of the major ones. Of course, many of us have the upgraded EVSE that Phil has built, or modified, I should say. That's, I think, is probably the best seller, so to speak, of all the mods that have occurred since the start of the launch of the Leaf. And the onboard charger is something that we had recommended to Nissan. Well, Phil has gone ahead and done his own job, and others are following behind him in that endeavor. I'll talk more about the seat heater, so I'll bypass that. And then there are other things that have been done. Let me just drop down here, which was a big request to Nissan in 2011. That has to do with diagnostics of what's happening to the battery rather than relying on those 12 bars that we see, the fuel gauge, and the distance to empty digital printout that you see, which a lot of us now call the GOM. And then, of course, there have been a lot of other external innovations like the bike rack, and one of our members, Bill Davis, I guess, who popped in and popped out, has built, and I have his version of the bike rack on my Leaf. It's in the parking lot if anyone's interested. And range extender is something that Phil built, but he's not here, so I guess he didn't show up with it. All right, so this was the first, I think, major modification that was done, and this was done by Phil, engineer, if you're on the My Nissan Leaf. And I think most of us have this modification where the original 120-volt portable charger has been upgraded to operate at 240 volts and 16 amps. So that sort of mimics what you would get in your house, the 3.3 kilowatt charger. And even with the new 2013 Leaf, Phil has been able to upgrade that as well. So that now also runs at a higher voltage. One of the major issues that those of us with the old Leaf have is the heater. And we already heard earlier today about from Robert Llewellyn how much improvement the 2013 Leaf has provided in terms of the heater, because they switched over to a heat pump, while Phil has modified the climate control module, which is in the center of the console. And I have one of his upgrades in my car. And so now, with the upgrade, you can run the defroster without the heater coming on when the temperature is below 60 F, which is a problem because if you only want the defroster but not the heater, with the stock car, you can't avoid that situation. So basically, Phil has modified this in some way, which I'm not really sure what he did, but he did it and it works. And I find that it makes a big difference to be able to defrost the front windshield without running the heater, because I never run the heater. In fact, I'm not even sure if the heater in my car works, because after he modified, because I've never used it. But the beauty of this is that if you need to restore the original operation, you just, according to Phil that is, you just cut one wire in the back of this module here, and it'll operate like it did previously. I haven't tried that, but I assume it works. But I can tell you, just based on my experience, it's a lot better than taking that Harbor Freight little heater fan and putting it up by your windshield like some of us did early on. So this is a big improvement in terms of efficiency, in terms of range as well as convenience. Now, I just show this because this is one of the things that people had asked for, not this version, but the 6.6 kilowatt charger. And now you know that the new 13 Leafs have the 6.6 or 6 kilowatt charger. And since Phil is handy at all these things, he's actually made, oops, sorry, here we go again. He's actually added one of these Busa inverters on top of where the inverter cover goes, and upgraded his to run on 6.6 kilowatts, so he can charge at that faster rate. And some of you have seen his range extender, which is this. He showed this at the Google meeting in 2011, and this is a Capstone micro turbine. I think it's rated at 30 kilowatts, so he can charge his Leaf. I believe he said he could charge it while he's driving it, but is that right, Mike? So this is a great improvement. The downside is you have to tow this thing behind you as you drive. This I think is the final version with the turbine underneath here, and then in front of it is the two propane or butane gas cylinders to fuel the micro turbine. I think this is going to be a one of a kind, but I could be wrong on that. Unless Nissan thinks this is a good idea.
The cost point on that is it costs more than the car without the engineering effort before the lease production.
Okay, all right, well. I think one of the other favorite items that has been going on within the Leaf group, anyway, SF BayLEAFs group, is the heat seaters. And to my knowledge, I think Bill Davis was the first to do this, because in the old cars, as you all know, there's no heater on the seats. And so there's a lot of people here that I guess have thin blood, and so they need some heat while they drive. Most of us just drive. And so what Bill did is he took his seats apart, and this here is an example of an electrical heater that you could put underneath the upholstery of your car and run. I guess it runs at 12 volts. Yes. So you get my understanding, it gives very good heat. I've sat in Howard's car, and yeah, it is kind of warm. And so with this installed in the the seat and in the back, it makes a nice toasty drive. You can control it, and you have these little ports there, which are blank in the 2011 Leaf. You can install switches and run the two seats individually, passenger, driver. And then behind the center console, Bill has put in two switches here, these two here, so you could run the back seats as well. So this gives you a very good heated vehicle. Now, this was the first one, and following that, the Leaf group had these seat heater parties, and this is what they did. So, in the middle here, at one of the first events that I attended, they ripped out the front seat and ripped out the center console controls, and this is the mess they left. And they replaced the back rear seat heaters, and this is what it looks like when you take the seat out, I should say. And here's some of the local members here measuring for installing the heater, and then actually taking the upholstery apart to insert it. And then after you do that, you have to make sure that you got all these connections correct, because some of these connections are attached to airbags. So that's very critical, isn't it? So you can see that it takes a lot of effort, at least in my opinion, and Howard has led, I don't know, how many of these seat parties? Four, right. So, oh, you're right, you had one.
4 or 5. We've done probably 12 or 13 Leafs with seat heater upgrade.
Yeah, so it's amazing that all this stuff is taken out and replaced, and the thing works.
In 3 hours.
In 3 hours, right? So it's quite an operation. And now I think we have some experts, but now there are seat heaters in the Leaf, so maybe it's going to be a moot point after a while. The other thing that Bill Davis, who did the first seat heater, he's a mechanical engineer, so he designed a bicycle rack, and this piece here is actually connected to the frame of the Leaf. And then you have this piece here, which is detachable, so that if you aren't using the bike rack, you can remove this to save weight. It's about 10 kilograms. 10 kilograms. So you have less weight you're carrying around, even though you have this frame here. And so if you put it together, this is what it looks like. And this is a little wire poke cable that you can use to detach this piece from that piece. And it goes all underneath the car, of course. And you cut a hole in the bottom cover. I guess it's not a cover, it's underneath. Anyways, whatever it's called, the plastic, whatever that is. Cover, okay. And then you put that in, and you can install it and remove it.
Comment on that too.
Okay.
So the second generation, or the current generation of that, requires no holes drilled in the frame to actually mount it to. He's come up with a way to mount it using existing holes.
Right. In the version that I have, he drilled one hole in the frame to bolt the hitch to the car, but now he doesn't need to do that. All right, so let me just go through this fast, because a lot of this is on the internet now, and one of the early items that people wanted was a state of charge meter, and that became part of the 2013 car. But in the meantime, we have various types of state of charge monitors, and the first one is the GID meter, which Howard has, and I'm not sure how many others here. I don't think there are many, but then the second one that was made by Jim Pollock is what's called the Watts left meter, and I have one of those in my car. I know Steve has one, and Maddie and a few others have. So that's very popular here. And Phil has the leaf scan, but we're not sure what the status of that is. The more interesting and more recent development is this battery monitoring, battery apps device that Jim Pollack has written the software for. Yeah, right, and there's an example of the printer. I have that on my screen here. So it does many things, more than you really want to look at while you're driving anyways. So it's a very interesting device. And so this is a software program that allows you to connect to the OBD port, and these are on the bottom are various examples of this Bluetooth scanner. I have a small one, and I think there are others I saw that are a lot larger than this. Unfortunately, mine doesn't connect to my, I can't get a readout for some reason. It's probably not this, it's probably me.
I'm afraid so.
Anyways, so maybe later I could check that out with someone else's car. So this gives you another dimension in terms of information that you can get. And I think one of the most important things from this device is knowing the voltages of your cell pairs in the battery pack, because we're all worried or concerned about degradation and monitoring that. And this I think, gives us some clue to what's happening. There are various screens, and I won't go through them. You can look on the internet. There's a wiki that you can look at and get all the details, and this is where this information came from. And this is the kind of display you get, showing you here the 96 voltage pairs. You get the maximum voltage, the minimum voltage, the average, and the difference. And temperature, you can get the temperature from the 4 sensors in the battery pack, state of charge, and so on. And you can get the histogram of the voltages for different all the cell pairs. And then here's a bar chart of the battery temperatures that you can display. And then you can get a different version of the display, state of charge, and so on. Energy available. You can get that in 2 forms now. If one isn't enough, you get 2. And then you can change the parameters if you want. So there's a lot of things to keep you happy while you're playing with this application. And then this is the watts left meter. It's in my car. It basically connects to the same place that the Elm 327 connects to, and you can connect both of them simultaneously with a splitter. And it's just a little display here, and people have it in various locations. I have it underneath this console. Some have it above their mirror, and maybe even some have it here. And here again, there's a little rotary switch, and you can have different kinds of screens showing state of charge, number of kids, etc., etc., etc. So more than enough data to keep you happy. And then this is the GID meter that Howard has. This is leaf scan, which is Phil's. And here again, you can get quite a bit more data from these 2 devices as well. Okay, so just to wrap up here, I think that we've become a very active and large group now, and I think we've had good contacts with Nissan, and they've been listening to what we have to say. And besides working with the Leaf community, we're trying to work with the EV community at large to make driving EVs a lot better and more enjoyable for all of us. So I think I'm going to quit, and no questions for now, right? Because I don't know the answer. Well, I do know some.
Okay. All right. Thanks a lot, Kim. We have just a few minutes left before we've got to vacate the room. We're coming up on 11:45, and we need to be out by noon. So we'll come back to the Nissan announcement that was made yesterday, I believe, in terms of another enhancement on the battery warranty. Let me just announce, usually we announce all the local EAA chapter meetings, but for lack of time today, we're going to skip that. But probably the most important EAA activity that I know of in the Bay Area is coming up Thursday. The Golden Gate EAA chapter actually did a project where they installed a charging station at St. Mark's School up in San Rafael in memory of Greg Simon, who was one of their members that passed away earlier, late last year, actually. So this was all funded through donations, and the chapter gave something over $4,000 to have this station put in, and it's being dedicated and with a bronze plaque, actually, this Thursday coming up. So if you can get up to San Rafael to attend that, that would be really good. It's at 4:30. It's at 4:30? Okay, thanks, Angelo. Yeah, I guess I forgot the time. So, Tom already made his announcement about this. Arthur had an experience at the Nissan dealer for his when he went for his battery check a day or so ago. So, Arthur, you want to?
Yes, very briefly. I brought in my Nissan Leaf for the 2-year check, and I had a what's left on it, and the dealer said that when they disconnected the what's left and plugged in their meter into the OBD2 port, there was nothing running. Everything was blank. And he said that happened to him once before. He turned off the car, left it off for a few minutes, and it did. All the data came back. So it's a good idea if you bring in your car for your periodic service, disconnect the what's left first. And as some people have done, so that when the car works, they can get the diagnostics of it properly.
Sorry, hi. I just want to be really quick.
Yeah, Jeannie Lamb from Nissan.
Hi, for some of the LEAF members I haven't met, I'm the EV Business Development Manager out here, and I wanted to say a few thank yous to Evernote. Great meeting you. We're enjoying working with you and continuing to work with you. And my son has wrapped himself in stickers and played with your fountain, so thank you very much. The other quick thing is, in terms of your group, we really are still continue to be very appreciative. Anytime I need volunteers at events, I know that Howard can send a note and we have 2 or 3 show up. And, downtown San Francisco right now, we have 2 volunteers at the CARB event in the library for a LEAF event in EVSE. My role, in a way, son, very nice to meet you, and I'm so glad that you brought up the workplace. My role specifically, and for those who don't know, I'm dedicated to working with employers and focusing on getting workplace charging set up. So I just wanted to give everyone a quick update that we have a fast charger, a Nissan DC fast charger on Google Campus now. We're really excited to do that. We're going to work with them ongoing to see if we can add more. And also we have events at HP on the 25th or 26th and some other campuses around the Bay Area. So we're getting a lot of momentum to work with employers in the Bay Area, and it's because mostly some of them are really thanks to you guys for letting us know. If there's any questions, the EV team is here. David Peterson, he's our dedicated West Coast EV infrastructure person. He just want to say a quick hello, and then we're gonna turn off so you can come ask us anything you want afterwards.
Hey, just wanted to say hi. I'm actually based in Los Angeles, grew up here. So David Peterson with Nissan North America. Inoue-san, thank you for coming to this meeting. I manage the Western U.S. working on DC fast charge infrastructure development. So a lot of what you're going to be seeing happening at dealerships and some of the behind the scenes stuff that we're doing with fast charging infrastructure throughout the U.S. That's, I guess, my team working on that. Also work on EV car sharing and some other stuff. So any ideas you guys have, feel free to come up, share them with me. So it's great to be a part of this. Thanks.
Out of real life. So Paul with the Leaf Electric Auto. 2 things near and dear. Your PG&E rate, the EV rate, actually was delayed, and it'll be coming along in August. And they're supposed to let you know. And in exchange for the delay, the bill is supposed to look beautiful. And I'll just leave it at that. And the other one is the Electric Auto, June 15th at Palo Alto campus. We'll have Tom Gage, who is the CEO of AC Propulsion, and he's going to be talking about the EV to grid. If you missed any of his other presentations, he's going to be talking about how they're making money by plugging your EV into the grid. They're doing it live.
He's also the CEO of EV Grid.
Well, yes, the CEO of EV Grid is his current endeavor. He's been working on it for a couple of years, so it's fantastic, like an EV veteran leader guy to hear from the mountain.
Okay, thanks. Marina, last.
Good morning. I just wanted to let you know it's getting really hot. A lot of people will be driving to the beach. If you're heading out to Santa Cruz, some additional level 2 stations went live this week. There's a total of 18 level 2 stations in downtown Santa Cruz today, which is great. And parking in Santa Cruz is for a fee, but if you're driving an EV, anything that has a carpool sticker, parking is free, whether it's metered, whether it's in front of chargers, garages. People don't know that, but it's free. You don't have to pay for parking.
All right, that's it for this month. So let's thank our hosts, Evernote, again. Thank you all. Lee?
What's the battery warranty?
Oh, right. George, you got a quick second to talk about the new battery?
Sure.
Okay. Good. Sorry.
Just really quick. So the battery, as you know, was announced or promised late December last year. And this is sort of the next step that Brinkley Nissan is taking. So the announcement was made again on Friday. There will be a software update, and more details are to follow. So I would just watch out for that. We don't have a lot more information right now, but if you have any questions, you can post them on Facebook or on my Nissan page. There's Nissan folks watching it, so I think you will get your answers there.
Okay, thanks, George. Thanks for reminding me. So we're tentatively